There comes a moment in every life when the world asks a single question. Who are you when everything familiar begins to fall apart? Not when the sun is warm, not when the path is smooth, but when uncertainty sits beside you like an unwelcome guest and fear whispers that you are not enough. It is in those quiet moments that the greatest battle is fought, not with the world, but within the invisible landscape of your own mind. Most people spend their lives trying to change their circumstances, believing that peace will arrive when the problems disappear. Yet history, wisdom, and the human spirit have always revealed a different truth. The strongest people are not those who were spared hardship. They are the ones who learn to speak to themselves differently while standing in the middle of it. They discovered that the mind can either become a prison with walls built from doubt, shame, and fear, or it can become a doorway leading to courage, freedom, and possibility. Think for a moment about the voices that live inside you. Some were given to you long before you understood their meaning. Some were born from disappointment, rejection, or failure. Others came from expectations that were never truly yours. These voices shape the way you see every challenge before you even take your first step. They decide whether an obstacle becomes the end of your story or simply the beginning of another chapter. But here is the remarkable truth. Your mind is not fixed. It is not a sentence carved in stone. It is a living place, capable of learning, healing, and becoming stronger than the fears that once ruled it. Every thought you choose, every belief you question, and every moment you refuse to surrender quietly reshapes the person you are becoming. The storms of life may continue to arrive, but a disciplined mind learns to stand in the rain without forgetting the promise of the sunrise. Today is not about pretending that pain does not exist or that life will suddenly become easy. It is about discovering that there is a strength already waiting inside you, a strength that grows every time you refuse to let fear write the ending of your story. Because when you learn to train your mind, you begin to realize that the greatest obstacle you will ever overcome is also the greatest source of your power. Every meaningful change begins long before the first visible action is taken. It starts in the quiet space of the mind, where thoughts gather, beliefs take root, and decisions are born. Before a person climbs a mountain, builds a business, heals from heartbreak, or overcomes failure, an invisible battle has already taken place. The mind decides whether a challenge is impossible or simply difficult. It chooses whether fear will become a reason to stop or a signal to grow. This is why the mind is the first battlefield. Every external victory is first won internally, and every defeat often begins with surrendering to negative thoughts before reality has even spoken. Many people believe their greatest enemies are circumstances, difficult people, or unexpected setbacks. In truth, those obstacles gain power only when the mind accepts defeat. Two people can face the exact same hardship, yet one walks away stronger while the other remains trapped by it. The difference is rarely found in talent, intelligence, or luck. It is found in the conversation each person has with themselves. One says, "This challenge is here to destroy me." The other says, "This challenge is here to teach me." The situation remains unchanged, but the meaning assigned to it changes everything. The human mind has an extraordinary ability to create stories. It constantly interprets events, filling silence with assumptions and uncertainty with conclusions. A single mistake can become evidence that someone is incapable. One rejection can convince a person they are unworthy. One failure can be mistaken for a permanent identity instead of a temporary experience. When these stories repeat often enough, they begin to sound like facts. Yet they are only thoughts, and thoughts can be questioned, challenged, and rewritten. Fear often enters the battlefield quietly. It rarely announces itself with loud warnings. Instead, it disguises itself as caution, hesitation, or the belief that waiting is safer than trying. It whispers that the timing is wrong, that success belongs to others, or that failure will be too painful to survive. If these whispers go unchallenged, they become commands that shape every choice. Opportunities are ignored. Dreams are postponed and confidence slowly fades, not because the world demanded it, but because the mind accepted fear as truth. Training the mind begins with awareness. You cannot change a thought you refuse to notice. Every time a limiting belief appears, there is an opportunity to pause and ask whether it reflects reality or simply echoes an old wound. This simple act creates distance between who you are and what you think. Instead of becoming a prisoner of every emotion, you become an observer capable of choosing a different response. Mental strength is not the absence of doubt. Even the strongest individuals experience uncertainty. The difference is that they refuse to let doubt make their decisions. They acknowledge fear without allowing it to take control. They recognize pain without allowing it to define their future. They understand that courage is not born after fear disappears, but while fear is still present. Every difficult choice strengthens the mind, just as every repeated exercise strengthens the body. Small moments of discipline gradually reshape character, making resilience a habit instead of an exception. The battlefield of the mind is fought every single day through ordinary moments that often go unnoticed. It appears when you choose persistence instead of quitting, hope instead of despair, gratitude instead of bitterness, and purpose instead of comfort. These choices may seem small in isolation, but together they determine the direction of an entire life, proving that the greatest victories are always claimed long before the world has a chance to see them. Pain is one of the few experiences that every human being shares, yet no two people carry it in exactly the same way. It arrives without invitation, often at the moments when life seems most certain. It may come through failure, rejection, betrayal, loss, disappointment, or dreams that never become reality. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid pain, believing that a life without struggle is the ultimate goal. But the deepest truth is that pain is not always the enemy. When faced with courage and understanding, it can become the very force that shapes wisdom, resilience, and inner strength. Every difficult experience leaves a mark, but that mark does not have to become a scar that limits your future. It can become a reminder of what you survived and what you learned. A tree grows stronger because it withstands storms. Steel becomes stronger because it endures intense heat. In the same way, the human spirit often discovers its greatest strength only after it has been tested. Comfort rarely teaches us what hardship can reveal. It is during life's hardest moments that people uncover patience they never knew they possessed, courage they never imagined, and determination that had been hidden beneath fear. One of the greatest mistakes people make is allowing pain to define their identity. They begin to say, "I am broken," instead of "I have been hurt." There is an important difference between the two. Pain is an experience, not a permanent description of who you are. What happened to you may have changed your life, but it does not have the authority to decide your future unless you hand over that power. Your experiences can influence you, but they do not have to imprison you. Every challenge carries a lesson, although that lesson is often invisible while the struggle is happening. Failure teaches humility and persistence. Rejection teaches self-worth that does not depend on approval. Loss teaches gratitude for what truly matters. Uncertainty teaches adaptability. These lessons are not pleasant to receive, but they often become the foundation upon which lasting confidence is built. A person who has never faced hardship may appear strong until the first storm arrives. Someone who has endured difficulty and continued moving forward possesses a quieter, deeper strength that cannot easily be shaken. Transforming pain into power requires a conscious decision. It means refusing to waste suffering by allowing it to produce only bitterness. Instead, it becomes fuel for growth. Every setback becomes evidence that you can endure more than you once believed. Every disappointment becomes motivation to develop greater wisdom. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity to strengthen qualities that success alone could never teach. This transformation does not happen overnight. It is built through daily choices to keep learning, keep believing, and keep moving even when progress feels slow. There will always be moments when the weight of life feels overwhelming. During those times, it is easy to believe that pain is endless, yet no season lasts forever. Just as winter eventually gives way to spring, emotional hardships also change with time, patience, and perseverance. The people who emerge stronger are not those who never cried, never struggled, or never questioned themselves. They are the ones who refuse to let suffering become the final chapter of their story. They understood that while pain may enter their lives without permission, the meaning they give that pain remains entirely within their control, allowing every difficult chapter to become the beginning of a stronger, wiser, and more resilient version of themselves. Fear and doubt rarely arrive as loud, unmistakable enemies. More often, they enter quietly, disguised as reasonable caution, hesitation, or the belief that waiting for the perfect moment is the safest choice. They settle into the mind through repeated thoughts, convincing people that they are not ready, not talented enough, or not worthy of success. Over time, these thoughts become familiar, and familiarity can make them seem true. Yet fear and doubt are not reliable guides. They are emotional responses, not accurate predictions of what is possible. Every person who has ever achieved something meaningful has encountered fear. The difference is not that successful people are fearless. It is that they refuse to let fear make their decisions. Fear is a natural response to uncertainty. It is the mind's way of trying to protect you from pain or failure. While this instinct can sometimes be useful, it can also prevent growth when it begins to control every choice. If you only act when you feel completely confident, you may spend your entire life waiting for a moment that never arrives. Doubt often grows from comparison. In a world where people constantly measure themselves against the achievements, appearances, and success of others, it becomes easy to overlook personal progress. Someone else always seems more experienced, more intelligent, or more accomplished. This comparison creates the illusion that everyone else has life figured out, while you alone struggle with uncertainty. The truth is that almost everyone wrestles with self-doubt. The difference is that some people continue moving forward despite it, while others allow it to become an excuse for standing still. The mind has a remarkable ability to exaggerate negative outcomes. Before taking a risk, it imagines failure in vivid detail. It pictures embarrassment, rejection, disappointment, and loss, often without giving equal attention to the possibility of success, learning, or unexpected opportunity. This imbalance creates unnecessary anxiety. In reality, many of the fears people carry never become reality. Countless opportunities are lost not because failure occurred, but because fear convinced someone not to begin. Breaking free from fear begins by questioning the stories you tell yourself. When a thought says, "I can't do this," ask what evidence truly supports that belief. When doubt insists that failure is certain, remember the many times you overcame challenges that once seemed impossible. Confidence is not built by never failing. It is built by realizing that even if failure happens, you possess the ability to recover, adapt, and continue. Every obstacle you have survived is proof that you are more resilient than fear would have you believe. Small acts of courage gradually reshape the mind. Speaking up when your voice shakes, trying again after disappointment, learning a new skill despite feeling inexperienced, or taking one step toward a long-held dream all weaken the grip of fear. Each courageous action sends a powerful message to your mind. You are capable of facing discomfort without being defeated by it. Over time, these repeated experiences replace limiting beliefs with confidence grounded in action rather than wishful thinking. True freedom is not found in eliminating fear completely, because fear is part of being human. Freedom comes from refusing to let fear become the author of your choices. It comes from recognizing that doubt may speak, but it does not have the final word. Every time you choose action over hesitation, hope over worry, and determination over excuses, you reclaim a little more control over your life. The strongest minds are not those that never experience uncertainty, but those that have learned to walk forward with steady purpose even while uncertainty remains beside them, trusting that every courageous step makes the next one a little easier to take. A strong mind is not built in a single moment of inspiration. It is shaped through small, consistent actions repeated day after day, even when no one is watching. Just as the body becomes stronger through regular exercise rather than one intense workout, the mind develops resilience through daily habits rather than occasional bursts of motivation. Many people wait until life becomes difficult before they begin working on their mindset. But mental strength is most effective when it has already been cultivated long before the storm arrives. The choices you make every morning, every afternoon, and every evening quietly determine how prepared you will be when challenges inevitably appear. Your thoughts are like seeds planted in fertile ground. Whatever you nourish consistently will eventually grow. If you repeatedly feed your mind with fear, negativity, and self-criticism, those thoughts become deeply rooted and begin influencing every decision you make. On the other hand, if you intentionally practice gratitude, optimism, discipline, and self-belief, those qualities gradually become your natural response to life's difficulties. The mind does not simply react to circumstances. It reflects the patterns that have been practiced over time. One of the most powerful habits is becoming aware of your inner dialogue. Most people speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to someone they love. They magnify their mistakes, dismiss their accomplishments, and constantly question their abilities. Over time, this internal criticism weakens confidence and creates unnecessary anxiety. Training your thoughts begins by replacing destructive self-talk with truthful and encouraging words. This does not mean pretending that everything is perfect. It means recognizing your flaws without allowing them to define your worth or your future. Discipline is another essential part of mental training. Motivation is unpredictable. Some days you wake up inspired, while other days you feel tired, discouraged, or uncertain. If your actions depend entirely on your emotions, progress will always be inconsistent. Discipline teaches you to keep moving even when enthusiasm fades. It reminds you that growth often happens on the ordinary days when no dramatic breakthrough occurs. Every time you honor your commitments despite discomfort, you strengthen your ability to remain steady under pressure. Another daily practice that transforms the mind is learning to focus on what you can control instead of what you cannot. Much of life's stress comes from trying to manage outcomes, opinions, or events that are beyond your influence. Energy spent worrying about the uncontrollable is energy taken away from meaningful action. When you direct your attention toward your effort, your attitude, your preparation, and your response, you regain a sense of purpose. This shift does not remove challenges, but it prevents them from controlling your peace of mind. Mental resilience also grows through continuous learning. Every experience, whether positive or negative, contains valuable lessons. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this teaching me?" This simple change in perspective transforms setbacks into opportunities for growth. Curious minds adapt more easily because they view obstacles as teachers rather than enemies. Every challenge becomes another chance to expand wisdom, patience, and strength. Surrounding yourself with positive influences is another daily decision that shapes your thinking. The conversations you have, the books you read, the content you consume, and the people you spend time with all leave an impression on your mind. Encouragement inspires confidence, while constant negativity quietly drains it. Choosing environments that challenge you to grow rather than settle for mediocrity creates a foundation for lasting resilience. Every encouraging word, meaningful lesson, and uplifting habit adds another layer of strength to your mindset, proving that extraordinary mental toughness is not created by extraordinary moments, but by ordinary choices repeated with consistency until they become part of who you are every single day. Life has a way of testing every person. Some storms arrive without warning, shaking the foundation of everything you once believed was certain. There will be moments when plans fall apart, relationships change, opportunities disappear, and the future becomes clouded with uncertainty. These experiences are unavoidable, but they do not have to determine the quality of your life. What matters most is not the size of the storm, but the strength of the person standing in the middle of it. An unshakable mind is not built by escaping difficulty. It is built by learning how to remain steady while facing it. Many people believe that strength means never feeling afraid, never becoming discouraged, or never experiencing moments of weakness. In reality, true strength looks very different. It is the ability to acknowledge fear without allowing it to control your actions. It is choosing hope when circumstances encourage despair. It is finding the courage to keep moving forward even when the destination is hidden by uncertainty. The strongest individuals are not those who avoid emotional struggles, but those who refuse to let those struggles define their future. Remaining calm during difficult times is a skill that requires practice. When problems appear, the mind naturally races toward worst-case scenarios. It imagines permanent failure, endless disappointment, and impossible obstacles. These thoughts create panic before reality has even unfolded. An unshakable person learns to pause before reacting. Instead of allowing emotions to take control, they take a deep mental step back and ask, "What can I do right now?" This simple question shifts attention away from fear and toward purposeful action. Calmness does not eliminate problems, but it allows wisdom to guide decisions instead of anxiety. Purpose also becomes an anchor during life's storms. A person without purpose is easily distracted by every setback and discouraged by every obstacle. Someone who knows why they are moving forward finds reasons to continue even when progress feels slow. Purpose provides direction when emotions fluctuate. It reminds you that temporary pain should never cause you to abandon a meaningful future. Every challenge becomes easier to endure when you understand that it is part of a larger journey rather than the end of the road. Flexibility is another quality of an unshakable mind. Many people suffer not because life changes, but because they resist change. They become attached to one outcome, one plan, or one expectation, believing that happiness depends on everything happening exactly as imagined. Yet life rarely follows a perfect script. Those who adapt without losing their values discover opportunities where others see only disappointment. They understand that changing direction is not the same as giving up. Sometimes the path changes so that you can become the person capable of reaching a greater destination. Gratitude also strengthens the mind during adversity. It is easy to focus on everything that has gone wrong, but doing so blinds you to the blessings that still remain. Gratitude does not ignore hardship. Instead, it reminds you that even in difficult seasons, there are reasons to keep believing. It shifts your attention from scarcity to possibility, from loss to hope, and from fear to faith in your own ability to continue. This perspective creates emotional balance, allowing you to face challenges without becoming overwhelmed by them. An unshakable mindset is not something you are born with. It is something you build through every decision to rise after falling, every lesson learned from failure, every act of courage despite uncertainty, and every refusal to surrender to fear. Over time, these choices create a quiet confidence that no circumstance can easily destroy. The storms of life may continue to come, but they no longer determine your direction, because your mind has learned to remain grounded, focused, and resilient, carrying within it the unwavering belief that no obstacle is greater than the strength you have patiently developed through every challenge you have overcome.